I think we all know that we had a very, very successful and entertaining 2025 version of Island Champs. We've seen this event grow every single year. View Fort Comprehensive, of course, defending champs in the male division. They came with a set of, how should I put this? Individuals from the community that were boisterous, pom pom girls. It was a really, really, really good atmosphere at the Sufremini Stadium. Um, in certain quarters, the belief is Island Champs have outgrown the Sufremini Stadium in terms of its capacity, and that was the main challenge the ministry actually had. But in the end, St. Joseph's Convent, they came out on top as the female, the women's, the girls' champs. And for the first time, we saw Viewfort Comprehensive since this new version being dethroned by St. Mary's College for the male champs. Of course, I want to say congratulations to the Ministry of Youth Development and Sport for their tireless work in organizing the Island Champs. This would not have been possible without the intervention and the partnership with the Ministry of Education, who also worked tirelessly to pull out this Island Champs, and of course the technical team from the St. Lucia Athletics Association doing very well. I must say this year we had a new nugget in terms of broadcast. We had HTS broadcast Island Champs in its entirety and MBC, and we also had our live stream on the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports page. I think most patrons were satisfied. There were disappointments from those who were outside but weren't allowed in, of course, due to capacity issues. And we're certainly hoping that moving forward, that we can move to a different location for Island Champs, or that we will have had enough time to widen the capacity of Sufremini Stadium through new stands, all of which is in the works now from the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports and the National Lotteries Authority. I think it was a successful weekend, a successful event, and I feel buoyed by the fact that our ministry continue to shake it to the max when it comes to youth and sports development in St. Lucia. Questions? Issue of sponsorship. I know last year we didn't get that. Did you see this year? We did have some challenges. Of course, First National Bank, we've seen some of the challenges that First National Bank had with some of the staffing issues and some of the protests. And we did engage them as much as possible to see if we could have had some sponsorship. Unfortunately, this year that was not forthcoming. But we did have the usual suspects. In fact, some other people come on board in terms of Pine Hill for Peter and Company, Hali Barrage, some of the other sponsors that we had this year. Of course, the Ministry and National Lotteries did their part to ensure that we continue to provide a level of support for athletes. I think one of the glaring, obvious progresses we've made is the fact that you see every single individual with a track shoe. You're not seeing individuals running barefooted. This is a thing of the past, except for on two occasions, as Minister had cause to ask why this individual is running without track shoe, only to find out that the individual decided against wearing a track shoe that was made available to them. So we've made huge strides in equipment, sports equipment and gear. You would notice that every single athlete used a starter, brand new. You would notice that they're well decked out. There's good distinction between the schools in terms of uniformity. All of these are small progresses that individuals may not see, but anybody who's been paying attention to youth and sports development over the last 3 years would notice. Of course, we are thankful that the Prime Minister has announced a further $1.5 million injection in sports gear and equipment. And so we're going to continue to spread it as much as possible to the schools and ensure that they continue to develop. We also announced $20,000 for the boys champs, which is St. Mary's College, and $20,000 for the girls champs, St. Joseph's Convent. And this is a direct injection into their sports program. So it's not necessarily they getting cash to just spread around, but to inject immediately back into further developing their programs. I also spoke ad nauseum about the establishment of alumni associations throughout the island. We think that is very important in further developing island champs. We want to see schools evolve into having their inter-secondary school competitions, the house competitions, inter-house competition on the weekend. And I say this and I continue to say this, if St. Mary's College decides that the inter-house competition is held on a Sunday, it will be the biggest sporting event on our sporting calendar. It's just the sheer amount of individuals from that alumni association, and I mean past students from the school. I mean the twinning of efforts with St. Joseph's Convent. I think this is something that we can look out for, or we can look towards doing next year. And I think this will really continue to develop our sports calendar and ensure that, athletics is taken to another level in St. Lucia. I look forward to that.
Mr. Minister, we were at the news yesterday, and one of the concerns seems to be about the stamina of the athletes. On several occasions, we saw these youngsters falling over, riffing in pain. One little girl even called, "I want my daddy, call my daddy for me." So it shows a certain. I mean, I'm not a nutritionist, but there seems to be a certain lack in stamina, even in our games. If you notice, St. Lucia I was speaking to Mr. Xavier about it. Even in competition, the football team never finishes a match. We have this lack of a finishing touch, and I'm not saying that it definitely is part of the athletes, but to see them in such pain at this young age. And then there was someone said that they played too many games, over a 7 day, or, they were into too many. Is there some way that there's a little more flexibility
Somebody did
in
say
it?
that to me, and I said to them that they're telling the wrong sports minister about too many games. This is because, I mean, when I was at secondary school, I was a national footballer at secondary school. I was a national cricketer at secondary school. I was a national track and field athlete at secondary school, a national volleyball baller at secondary school. And I'm talking about separate events. I'm not talking about you playing Winwood Island games. So I had training at a national level for all those sporting events on a weekly basis. I mean, this is the wrong sports minister to say there's too much. I think this is why there's going to be a heavy focus on an alumni association, because it means that one of the responsibilities would be to have a year-round calendar of sports development at the school. It is too school centered in terms of sports development, is too school centered. And let's just admit it, the Ministry of Education's mandate is to develop the education and the minds of these students. The Ministry of Sports is to develop the minds, use the development of the mind, have some development of the body to ensure that we have well-rounded individuals. An alumni association is an extra nugget where persons from the community, let's just say St. Mary's College, from the Castries Basin, who've attended the school, come together and see about how we get the best coaches available to them, the best administrators available to them, the best financiers from the school's history, and see how we can develop a holistic year-round program of developing these athletes. So an athlete running a 3,000 meter, how do we as an alumni association identify that athlete, see there is a problem with stamina, see there's a problem with mental strength, and gather some resources to develop that athlete ahead of island champs the following year. If we do this in every single secondary school, I guarantee you, in the next 10 to 15 years, we'll have at least 4 more Julian Alfreds. If St. Lucians decide that they're going to take an active role, not sit on the side and criticize and say government do this and government didn't do this and I have to pay $20 and $30 to go to a sports event. If we decide to do our part, be part of an organization in the community, gravitate towards a school, identify some talent, and find out how I, as an individual, can nurture that talent. If we do that, I guarantee you I'll be standing here in 10, 15 years and we'll be lauding the development of former Julian Alfreds in St. Lucia.
Mr. Minister, one of the biggest concern was the issue of security. How was that for you, and were you satisfied with the level of security at the base?
I was satisfied with what I saw. We did not have any incidents of note. I did not hear of any incident before or after. There was some concern in terms of what time the actual sweep of the venue was conducted. I was informed and apprised of that. We definitely hope to collaborate a little bit better in terms of that timing. We did have some other logistical issues based on the venue again, and the unavailability of the George Odlum Stadium that I'm hoping that we can start some significant work on once we remove everybody from St. Jude. And hopefully we can have some serious work done to move into that facility. We did have some logistical issues, but generally the complaints will always come, but the event, I think, went very well. And we can only hope for it to be better organized and to have more individuals come near to what's happening and be part of the success of our athletes and the Ministry of Youth Development and Sport.
Angel Lorenzen must be impressing you. Must be happy.
The story of Asia Lorenzen, as a Minister of Youth Development and Sport, I can say individually, I really hoped to have had Asia Lorenzen as part of that historic Olympic team last time around. As fate would have it, in terms of her citizenship, of course, her family, the Lorenzen family in St. Lucia, they could be very proud of her. We certainly hoped that last Olympics she would have been part of the team, but that did not happen. But we see in the athlete that we have in Asia, and we only hope for more development through what we're seeing. Very impressive individual, for all intents and purposes. Mentally, when you analyze an athlete right now, it's not just about their physical makeup, but where they are mentally. And I can tell you, mentally, she is where we need her to be, and she's only going to progress some more. And we're certainly hoping that the efforts that we are going to put in over the next 3 years, that we can identify 2 sprinters. So we're not only looking to Julian Alfred for gold in the 100 and 200, but we can also start looking at a 4x100 meter team that I'm very confident with what we are doing in terms of the logistics of the ministry and the strategy of the Athletics Association, that we should be able to identify 2 other athletes. We're about to put a Carifta team together. For all intents and purposes, we will be sending over the most athletes in our history over to Carifta in Trinidad. The association, the Athletics Association, will be making that announcement soon enough. And we're certainly hoping that the likes of Naomi London, who is in Texas, that she continues to mature. And we can see athletics really taking its rightful place in St. Lucia and in the region and the world.
Well, on the subject of athletes, international athletes, maybe you may be if you came to your attention that there are 2 internationally renowned athletes who touched down in St. Lucia, one being Michael Jordan and the other being Jake Paul. As a sports minister, these types of athletes, celebrities racing St. Lucia, how does that make you feel?
Makes me feel good because I know for certain that these individuals would have watched the Olympics. I know for certain that Michael Jordan would have been glued to the TV and would have seen this St. Lucian named Julian Alfred winning a gold medal and piquing the curiosity of a legend of, I have not been to this island. Perhaps I should go there, and see what happens there. And of course, the same with Jake. So we are seeing the ripple effects of what has happened in terms of St. Lucia and its sport in prowess. And we just hosted a congress, first English-speaking Caribbean island to do so, the smallest island to ever host a congress of that magnitude. And so our record in sports development over the last 3.5 years is just unchallenged. I mean, there's just no 2 ways about it. We are making the necessary adjustments that we need to make, some of them slowly, some of them too slowly, but certainly, surely, we are headed in the right direction of sport, and there's just no reason at all to turn back right now.
One of the outstanding athlete, one of the youngsters is coming up, like you say, we have focused on developing some more talent. It was Jada Emmanuel. You think that there's prospects for her to elevate to an elite athlete status? There will be some first in pushing her?
Absolutely. For me as a minister, we definitely work through the associations. So as a minister of sport, I mean, it's just not the correct procedure to just jump on any athletes and say, hey, of course you can make recommendations, you can have dialogue, but certainly that's one of the athletes that we're certainly hoping will continue to develop. Much like Laverne Spencer, Julian Alfred, and those before her, she needs to make a conscious effort that this is what she wants. So once she puts her mind to it, she certainly have the physical capacity, the natural talent to get there. And we're certainly hoping that as a ministry, once the association have identified her as being an elite athlete, that we as a ministry through this program will provide her with the necessary resources so that she can continue to progress.
Where with the public health amendment bill, the noise regulation bill? What's
Well,
happening
we're
there?
switching. Um, we had it down for um, debate at the last sitting, but there were some technical considerations that were brought to our attention pretty late that we had to make just a few adjustments to. I'm aware that the AG's chamber is looking into it, so we made some amendments to the criminal code in terms of the lack of jury selection needed for certain cases. So I'm certainly hoping that within the next few weeks that all the adjustments would be made so that we can provide something as strong as possible to the public. I'm going to say this again, the legislation will not be perfect, and the dynamics of legislation is such that it can be amended as time progresses. But I'm very happy that we are very, very advanced when it comes to noise pollution, especially for my constituency.
I'm talking about the noise pollution. What would be the matter with the vehicles? You know, we have some of these vehicles with boom boxes.
All of that is taken into
All that would be-
consideration. All of that is taken into consideration. We have the technology now to actually use our phones. So the police will have devices that they could use to check decibel levels. And so all of that will definitely be used to try our best to quail those issues, especially in places like Bonterre, Rodney Bay, Cap Estate. I certainly feel it for those individuals who have to who make investments in certain areas, knowing that peace and quiet is one of the reasons they invested their millions into their homes and have to deal with those levels of noise. So, I mean, as a minister, while many have just thrusted it on the side of taking it on head on, I'm not going to be popular after it's passed, but that is something that I'm willing to accept, just for the peace and tranquility, no pun intended, for my people of Grosley. Yes. Thank you all so much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the press. Trust you had a good weekend. Tomorrow I will be presenting to the House of Assembly of St. Lucia's largest budget ever, a $2 billion budget, a $2 billion budget. It's the largest budget ever, and I'm very excited to present it to the people of St. Lucia. The budget will show the level of fiscal prudence and growth in the economy. It will show that we are running surpluses, some serious surpluses that are necessary for the continuation of the economic development of St. Lucia. I'm very excited to present it tomorrow. But as you know, tomorrow is just going to be about figures, basically figures. But really where the government's policy comes out, how the government will guide the country for the next year will come at the passing or the reading of the appropriation bill, which had happened the last Tuesday of April. So tomorrow is basically going to be figures, very quantitative in terms of how the economy performed in between April the 1st, 2024 and March the 31st, March the 31st, 2025. This is what's going to happen tomorrow. But for the reading of the appropriation bill, you get all the government's policies, etc. But I can tell you, the country has been well managed as far as the figures are concerned. And as you know, figures never lie. The figures are possible, are there to be seen. The estimates of expenditure, and in fact, we have a new feature this year. This year, we are changing the budget process. In terms, we want to have We've got some new software, the Ministry of Finance, where some budget reform is taking place, where information is going to be more accessible. So what happened is that we decided to go away from the norm. And in the interest of transparency and accountability, normally when the estimates are read by the Minister of Finance on Tuesday, debate starts on Wednesday. But out of the abundance of caution and the very fact that we are so confident of the figures, we have given the opposition a whole day. So the debate will start on Thursday instead of the customary Friday. So I deliver on Tuesday afternoon at 5, and the opposition will have a whole day, an entire day, to look at to examine the estimates. That never happened before in St. Lucia. Before, we came right away. In fact, in my understanding, when I was leader of the opposition, I responded immediately. The Minister of Finance delivered on Tuesday, and I came and I responded immediately on Wednesday at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, whatever. This time, we are given an entire day. So I deliver at 5, and we have a whole day, and we expect the opposition to start on Thursday. So I look forward to seeing all of you, because I'm sure as St. Lucians, you'll be very pleased with the balance sheet of the government.
So I want to go back to the IMF country report. They would have made suggestions to increase our VAT, also to impose more taxes on cigarettes, sugary drinks. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, the IMF, what the IMF normally gives are suggestions, and the sovereign government does what they think they should do. The IMF advised the former government not to reduce VAT, and they did. So IMF advice is not an order. It's just what it is. It's basically advice.
So as a finance minister,
I have absolutely no intention of increasing VAT.
Okay. We've got to the halls of justice. Can you tell us what is the new scope? I think, Mr.
First of all, I want to tell you one thing, and I wanted to discuss that at the policy on April. Selling land is not like buying a pair of shoes at SNS.
Sorry.
Selling land is not like buying a pair of shoes at SNS. Anybody who sells land is registered in the registry. I will say nothing about that. I want to invite the members of the press, all the surrogates, go to the registry and see who owns the Constitution Park. That's all I'm saying, nothing more. I'm going to say one more time. I am not, you see, I'm the Prime Minister of St. Lucia. I've got very serious things to do and to discuss. It's very serious things. I am not getting involved with any discussion on fables. Anybody who sells land in St. Lucia, it is registered, including the Crown. To find out who owns Constitution Park, I invite the entire country to go to the registry and look at the block and parcel of land. That's all I'm going to say on that matter. Now, your question.
Right. Refer you to the revelations by the housing minister, Mr. Frederick, as he explained to us that the government was in a negotiation process, properly purchasing the Ajoda property with a change in scope of the design and the plans for the Halls of Justice. We know that it would have been in that bill, that property adjacent to the Roman Catholic Church. So if you could just tell us what is the government now considering? That's what I want to know.
If you recall, and we have said several times, including in Parliament, that the government is in discussion with the church on putting the building in the location where the old courthouse was. I said so several times. That was not a revelation. I said several times that the government, and I also said, I even went as far as saying, I do not intend to find myself in any argument with the Catholic Church. If you recall, that's on the record. The good thing is these things are on the record. That's one. Number two, you may have also heard the opposition say that they had invoked the prayer warriors to pray for the Catholic Church. That's on the record also. They had invoked the prayer warriors to pray for the Catholic Church because the Catholic Church needed prayers because I was imposing a building in front of the iconic cathedral. So the idea of discussions in the Catholic Church was always on the cards. What happened is that the government decided that after discussion with the Catholic Church, we would move the building from where it is and move it to the other side of the building. In that case, we would have to occupy the piece of land that Mr. Judah had. That was not a secret. That was not a secret. That was not a secret. If you recall, probably you didn't hear, but it wasn't a secret. What's happened now is the government is negotiating with a Judah to buy the piece of land, and the House of Justice will move the front, will be the old education building, and the other side will be on the Judah lot. That's going to be an asset of the state. The state of St. Lucia will own another piece of valuable real estate in the country, the state. But we cannot disclose figures because we are in negotiations with the Judah's family. That's all.
So what will become of the court site?
That is what we did. Probably it might be a national park, an open green space, all the trees. So think about that side. But that wasn't a secret.
No one is saying it as a secret. Well, at least I'm not saying. I just wanted to get
Facts.
official
Yes. And
confirmation of
will you
what's
check,
happening there
will you
because
check
there are changes.
Will
to
you
the,
check the owner of the Constitution Bank? You check it?
I am not interested in
No,
that.
yes,
I'm asking you. I'm
Okay.
asking you. That's what I asked you.
Okay.
If you were responding to the opposition, then respond to the opposition.
No,
but
no,
I'm asking
just-
you my own questions.
Well, I'm just telling
as a
you
member
my
of the
own.
media.
I'm
Thank
just
you.
giving you my own.
I'm not interested in Hesse and whatnot. I'm asking
Okay,
for
great.
facts.
I'm
Thank you
so
very
happy.
much.
I'm so happy. That's well said.
Also,
well
I
said,
just
well
wanted to
said.
with regards to last week, we saw a video going around, Prime Minister, and in it we see the Minister for Investment basically admitting to certain things that telling a
Minister for Investment.
Dr. Nesile,
Well, you ask him when he comes.
is he coming?
What did he say?
I'm referring to him, I guess, confirming allegations of the amount of files that would have been sold through our CIP. Also speaking about other issues with the program. I wanted to get you right now today to tell us what exactly is happening with the program, because he seems to allude to the fact that there are challenges right now with the program in terms of the issuance of citizenships, and it seems, based on what you were saying, that things are on hold because of the various allegations and other issues.
I want to be very careful. I want the minister to answer for what it was said that he said. I didn't hear him. So the minister will answer.
Okay, so
No, my parents always taught me ladies first.
thank you. Sorry. I saw a video where y'all are making some updates on the Enchipo Secondary School. I just wanted to know, would you be making
you went to
updates?
You went to Enchipo?
Yes, I did.
Ah,
But
so-
Rihanna as well.
Okay.
Please.
Went to Enchipo, Rihanna?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So
I just-
I'll ensure that the work happens faster there.
I'll leave it.
You too? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
all
I
right.
just wanted to know, would there be updates to other secondary schools
Oh yeah,
in the
we
Cashews Basin?
again. The Anchipo School is in my constituency. It's near my home. We're going to be putting a real modern block on the Anchipo School. Modern block. It's probably going to be one of the most modern blocks ever built in St. Lucia. I'm very excited about it. As we speak, work is happening on the Grand Riviere School. Work is happening on the Grand Riviere School, a secondary school again. Work is happening in a school in Vieux-Fort North and a school in Vieux-Fort South. 4 schools. So that is in keeping with the government's position of improving infrastructure, all in the year of infrastructure.
And how much money is being put into this?
I think about $12 million, and that came from a loan from the African Export-Import Bank, which I negotiated when we met.
So will it be the same approach like the Enchipo Secondary School, or you just putting a new wing?
I think it's going to be, all the wings are going to be modern state of the art wings.
Yeah, Mr. Prime Minister, I want to question on the issue of infrastructure. I know,
Infrastructure.
yeah, we had a big year of infrastructure, and the minister has, disclosed a lot of work projects and and even when you go around the country, we notice there's a lot of work projects. But in your opinion, how satisfied are you with the progress of this, of these works, and the emphasis on the year of infrastructure? How much has it yielded, and how much more do you think that has to be done?
Okay, but you may recall when I spoke about infrastructure, I always said infrastructure doesn't only mean roads. I said roads, hospitals, buildings, etc. We made that point. We had a few setbacks because of it has been raining. You'll agree it has been an unusually rainy year, but quite a bit of work has happened on the roads. We are making good progress on St. Jude Hospital. Your colleague spoke about the school buildings. We completed the Granvier Wellness Center. We completing the custody suites. We working on the Grosley, the Northern Police headquarters. That's in infrastructure. Work is going to start on the Rockall housing scheme in earnest. Incidentally, we only got approval for that project on Thursday. That's when we got approval. So work is going to start in earnest on that. Work is started on the aquatic center. So the urban infrastructure is continuing. It wasn't. I always made a point. It wasn't only roads. You've seen the level of construction, even private construction, in terms of hotels being built. So I'm satisfied with the progress. But this year we have to decide whether we're going to continue on the theme of infrastructure. But we've talked about the digital infrastructure in the country, which is also improving and expanding. So I think when I deliver my address in April, when we're dealing with the appropriation bill, we'll decide where the theme will continue to be infrastructure plus. But in the infrastructure year has gone pretty well as far as I'm concerned.
Just quickly, you in the Rockall project, you
Yes.
mentioned it was
We just got approval.
social housing, low-cost housing.
Yeah.
Is
Affordable.
affordable? Is this a model that you see you transform to other communities, because
Yes.
housing is a big issue?
Yeah, in fact, I've exciting news for you at the policy statement as far as housing is concerned. But just wait a while. Just give me a few weeks.
Prime Minister,
Yes.
recently the tariff committee met.
The who?
The tariff committee.
Yes.
So I think, have they given you any updates?
The Minister of Commerce today. I always say to you, my friends, that I believe in allowing my ministers who are very competent to deal with the topics. The minister will come and advise you on the tariffs. But as I say about tariffs, there's something that's very, very frightening, which is shipping. We always speak about the cost of living, but we are never very clear as to the reasons for the increase in the cost of goods and services. Goods, particularly goods that are imported. There is a proposal on President Trump's desk, or if he hasn't reached his desk, there's a proposal that every ship, and I'm paraphrasing, that every ship that is built in China or has parts of the ship built in China, they'll be fined $1 million or $1.5 million anytime they go into an American port. And I'm paraphrasing. So that is very concerning. In fact, CARICOM ministers held a meeting, prime ministers, I was there, we held a meeting, a Zoom meeting on Friday, and that was a serious consideration. And it's very important that we inform the public of St. Lucia about these things, because we seem to believe that the cost of living is a function of the prime minister. We tend to very falsely pretend that the cost of living is a fault of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister can reduce the cost of living. But I want to know, how can the Prime Minister influence the cost of shipping? And that's a major issue. So that issue is going to be on the desk for discussion. As you know, the prime ministers of a few prime ministers are meeting with the U.S. Secretary of State sometime this week, and that is going to be discussed. But it's a very, very serious issue for the cost of living in St. Lucia. Extremely serious.
What about the issue of deportees and things? There have been reports that a number of St. Lucia has been returned. What about this?
These reports are false. A number of St. Lucians have not returned. We've got word that 5 St. Lucians are returning sometime this week, but the St. Lucia government will accept its nationals. We will never run and shy away from our responsibility for our nationals. They are our nationals. And I want you to understand also that the deportees, if and when they come, all of them are not criminals. We want to pretend that all these people are criminals. All of them are not criminals. They are citizens who went to the U.S. in search of the American way, and because and faith had they returned, so we can accept them. They are our people. We're not going to be shy away from our people. Why must we deny our people? We're going to welcome them back with open arms, and ensure that they make the contribution that they make to St. Lucia, the same contribution they wanted to make in the States. Right now, there is a lot of opportunity in construction, opportunity in small business. The time is now, so we're not afraid of our nationals coming back. We're not afraid of our nationals returning to St. Lucia. Nothing to be afraid of. But I can tell you, there's been no mass deportation of people as when we speak.
On the subject of shipping, I think it was sometime last year we had the Ghanaian Prime Minister, putting an option of West Indies shipping, for food, for fruits. What is the latest update on him? Because where crucial shipping is for manufacturers, for
These discussions are ongoing. In fact, incidentally, talking about agriculture, we're going to be very shortly open. The Ministry of Agriculture will inform you some greenhouses that I negotiated with President Ali in Ghana, and we're going to be the greenhouses are now up, and we're going to be initiating some scientific agriculture led by young people. So that's something exciting to look forward to, which I'll give further details in the policy statement, and the Minister of Agriculture will elaborate.
But you see the need for West Indies shipping?
Yes, shipping. In fact, the governments are even considering whether there should be a joint purchase. But that's a work in progress. That's discussions happening.
What are you concerned at all that the negotiations with the Police Welfare Association, between GNT and the Police Welfare Association, and also the NWU, it hasn't concluded as yet?
The GNT is aware of that, and discussions are continuing. We're going to continue discussing. The discussions are going ahead.
Are you concerned in terms of the police that this might affect the police themselves in their function and how they work?
Of course.
Given what we saw earlier this year.
Not only negotiations. I'm concerned about anything that affects the police. But as I've said before, I have full confidence in the police force of St. Lucia. The same I have full confidence in the doctors and nurses.
They are asking for compensation because what they're saying is that the 96 hours that they're working in.
They're going to be discussing with the government negotiating team, and they will come. I'm not involved in these negotiations. I will not get involved from the press. Let the process continue. But I'm telling you, we really want to make conditions the best we can, and I can tell you that the government has. If we haven't ordered it today, we're going to order it before the year is over. We're going to order enough bulletproof vests for every member of the police force. every member of the police force will have access to a bulletproof vest. Every member. That's what I can tell you. In terms of negotiations, the GNT is continuing. What has caused disturbance to my press
As the land
conference?
document for Constitution Park.
To show that,
It's still, it's not been,
but I told you earlier,
yeah.
a land is not a shoe about SNS.
It's also good to have, the record there. This is updated.
I'll tell you something. I've told you before that I am the Prime Minister of St. Lucia. I'm busy with causing the country to move forward. I'm excited about this country. I don't get involved in these kind of things. You see, I'll tell you something. You know what's happening in how this country is progressing and moving forward? I mean, really, think about it. For the first time, we've had single-digit unemployment. The first time. Look at, we have another rising star, Miss Lawrenson. As far as sports are concerned, if you ain't get involved in people who really want ill for St. Lucia and want bad for St. I can't. I'm not getting drawn into these arguments of negativity. I'm looking positive. And I want the country to join me in being positive. I'm not getting involved in that negativity, that spreading of doom and gloom, making friends with anybody who wants to destroy St. Lucia. I'm not getting involved in that. I'm not. St. Lucia is too precious to me. The St. Lucian people, they mean too much to me for me to get involved in that. I'm not. Because I see so much excitement. I see so many things happening. I'll tell you something. And in the Youth Economy Agency, we've had to suspend taking applications because of the interest of young people. We have to stop taking applications because of the interest of young people. In the MSME program, there's been oversubscription. In terms of labor, we have getting some serious requests from people about labor. When I speak to the Chamber of Commerce, I spoke to them last week, and they said their plans for expansion. Their plans to grow their businesses. I can't get involved in negativity. It's not good for the country. I'm not. You understand? I'm going to tell you the exciting news about the Hiwanora International Airport. You're going to hear that in the policy statement. And the GPH project has been approved by the DCA. The Rockall project has been approved by DCA. These are exciting times. Too many things are happening. You spoke about our school buildings. Work at St. Jude. And I'm sure you forgot that the fifth wing of the OK hospital work is going to start. It's going to start because we've had an initial payment. So too many positive things happening. Too many things happening. Okay. Have a good day. Bye.
Good morning, members of the media. Morning. Well, I'm sure everyone here in this room knows that I am the district representative for Castries Central. And so Constitution Park falls squarely within the remits of my constituency boundaries, Last night, I heard the leader of the opposition. Among the many lies he usually tells, and he told last night, one really stood out. One stood out, and I said I want to make it a point of duty to clarify and to put members in the public in the know. The leader of the opposition said that this government, of which I am a part, sold Constitution Park for $1. I was so amazed that I went breathless for a couple seconds. Folks, everyone knows that a sale of land must be accompanied by a deed of sale. A deed of sale would tell you who the signatories to the transfer are, who the prior owner was, and who the current owner is. But when there is no deed of sale, you get evidence of title for any piece of land in this country by virtue of what is called the land register. The land register is the document that delineates, among other things, the property in question, the block and parcel number, if there are any, the owner, and if there are any encumbrances, for example, a mortgage, it would stipulate this to the back of the land register. I want to say, as of March 24th, 2025, today, this is the land register for Constitution Park. The property is still vested in the Crown, as you can see right here in the Crown, right here in the top right corner. So there is absolutely no truth. It is a monumental lie. It flies in the face of reality. Even the assertion itself is absurd that Constitution Park was sold for $1. The only dollar I know insofar as government property is concerned and the transfer thereof is a list by that very leader of the opposition sitting in the prime ministerial chair, leasing land to T.O. King at $1 an acre for 99 years. But I want to place on record, the truth is, this government has not sold Constitution Park. Constitution Park is still vested in the Crown, meaning it is still owned by the government and people of St. Lucia, and there are no encumbrances attached. Okay, I wanted to make that clear, that this, yet again, was another lie by the leader of the opposition.
What exactly is happening in Constitution Park? We didn't know if I said there's some deal with the building. What exactly?
There is no deal. You see, up to Friday, I had to call Newspin. Because what people do, when they find friendly territory, they spew a lot of untruths. And invariably, the listeners to those untruths would be supporters of their own. And if left unrefuted, those allegations go down the annals of belief. When the Halls of Justice was conceptualized and the drawings were approved, invariably it got to the attention of the religious fraternity. I don't think the Catholics, more particularly, were happy with the placement of the Halls of Justice in such close proximity to our number one Catholic church in St. Lucia, that is the cathedral. We are not a government who don't listen. We take on board the concerns of all and sundry. We take concern of the ideas, the disposition, the desires of everyone, and at the end of the day, attempt desperately to strike a balance. And it was after numerous meetings with the Archbishop and other stakeholders and other members of the religious fraternity, the government decided that we will not do like the former administration, do what we please, and if they express their displeasure, ask them to apologize, as was done by the former Prime Minister, currently leader of the opposition. So we decided, let's listen to what they have to say. I can tell you several meetings were held, not only with the religious fraternity, but other stakeholders. And the government decided to ensure that whatever we implement is done in an environment of tranquility, a peaceful environment, and it becomes a project that is all-embracing, that embraces the views and desires of all and sundry. So it was against this background, the Prime Minister and ministers in Cabinet decided that, look, let us explore the possibility of acquiring the Ajuda's land space and to pursue placing part of the Halls of Justice in that area based on pleasing those members of the religious fraternity who had a difficulty. That was communicated to them, and they were quite pleased. We have not gone to the public because everything has not been finalized. Everything is still in the negotiation stages. If the property is bought, it will be bought on behalf of the government and people of this country. It will become a state asset, not a personal asset. And so we are still hoping that the negotiations conclude in an amicable manner, where what they are asking for and what government is willing to offer can find common ground. Once that is done, we will be in a position where the landowner will be happy, government will be happy, and of course the religious fraternity will indeed be happy. So we will have a project that would meet the desires of everyone without any kind of further rancor. But as we speak now, government has not bought the property, but it is an option that is on the table. So contrary to that caller on Newsspin, who seemingly was speaking from a standpoint of knowledge, this is not so yet. It is an option worthy of exploration. It may come to fruition, but it has not at this time.
If it does not come to fruition, then what's the other possibility then?
Well, we are hoping it will be, but another option, and again, that is why we have not gone to members of the public, because nothing has been concretized in that regard. We have the option of moving the building further away from the cathedral. So that is still another option. So we can move it further away, and there would be a lot of space between the building and the cathedral. That is one option. The other option is to acquire that land. So if hypothetically we offer $2 million and they want 100 and we can't find common ground, then invariably we'll have to resort to moving the building further away and leave the land alone. But I do believe we will find common ground in the interest of all concerned and in the interest of the development of this great country of ours. Okay? Thank you very much.
Good morning, and I am here to bring what I consider to be the good news, in that we have finally found a resolution to the dispute between the National Workers Union and First National Bank. As you will recall, a few months ago there was a big dispute that led into workers at First National Bank going on strike, and there was protests in the streets. And the matter was referred to me as Minister of Labor for mediation. And mediation is not an easy exercise, because I think the word mediation means you have to find a middle ground where both parties can agree. So finally, the National Workers Union has written to me, and the First National Bank, I received correspondence from them indicating that they have accepted my determination on the matter. And finally, they are going to go and work together. The dispute basically was one where First National Bank acquired the Royal Bank of Canada. And the employees of First National Bank, they claim that they had additional responsibilities because they had to deal with a new entity. They had persons who were working in the Canadian Republic Bank, and they felt that there was some disparity and discrepancies in terms of the rate of pay for employees at First National and those who worked with the Canadian Bank. And they also felt that they were given additional responsibilities because the bank acquired that new entity. And the union was requesting an additional $600 per month for every employee. The bank said they could not afford that amount of money. The Labor Commissioner did a conciliation on the matter. He recommended $400 for every employee. And the bank felt that this was not affordable. The little profit that they make from the bank was not, it was not enough for them to be able to sustain that kind of increase in pay. And therefore they referred the matter to the Minister of Labor for mediation. And it took us some very long hours and many days discussing between the two parties. I had to bring the two parties together. We look at all the issues surrounding that matter. However, I was able to speak to what gave rise to the issue. And I indicated to the bank that we are not going to settle on any amount for increase in pay unless we dealt with the genesis of the matter that gave rise to the dispute. And that is, the union had been claiming and asking for job evaluation so that the employees are getting paid like every other bank and everybody else. And they also had stopped negotiating. There was no negotiation going on between the union and the bank. And I insisted that I want to see the resumption of negotiation, and I want to see to it that the bank engage in organizing the job evaluation. And I gave them a time frame by which they have to conclude that matter. So that I am very confident that at this point, the bank did respond to that. They had to get persons to work on that, and they have completed that exercise, and they are back around the table negotiating. And I gave an award of $250 for the affected employees from January 2024 up to this point. So I think they felt that this was a better way of addressing the matter, and the bank said that this was affordable. So in my view, the workers are coming out very good in that mediation, that they are going to get the job evaluation. Some of them will be reclassified, placed in different grades. They might get increase in pay, as well as they have to look at negotiations where they'll get their salary increases, whatever the bank and the union agreed to. So I'm very pleased, I'm very thankful for both the union and the bank for their cooperation in the matter. And I trust that everything will go well and continue to help the bank and help the employees to work in a very good environment.